From Sumy in the north to Donetsk in the east, the war in Ukraine has settled into a brutal and repetitive rhythm. Russian forces advance in waves, pushing infantry forward in dense formations, hoping that numbers alone will break Ukrainian defenses. But time after time, those assaults collapse into disaster. Ukrainian artillery, mortars, and layered drone networks turn open ground into killing fields. What Russian commanders see as momentum, Ukraine sees as opportunity, and that opportunity is now being weaponized at an unprecedented scale. This pattern is already devastating for Russia, but Ukrainian leadership believes the worst is still ahead. Ukraine has now unveiled a strategy designed not merely to repel attacks, but to grind Russia's war machine down through systematic, relentless attrition. At the center of this strategy is Ukraine's newly appointed defense minister, Mikhailo Fedorov, who has wasted no time in laying out an objective so blunt it has stunned observers on both sides of the conflict. Ukraine aims to destroy up to 50,000 Russian soldiers every single month. This is not rhetoric meant for morale alone. Fedorov's declaration is rooted in data, trends, and the evolution of modern warfare. Over the past several months, Ukraine has already demonstrated a steady increase in Russian losses. In October, Ukrainian forces eliminated approximately 26,000 Russian soldiers. November saw that number rise to 30,000. By December, Ukrainian leadership stated that 35,000 Russian soldiers had been eliminated, with the majority of those losses verified by drone footage. The direction of travel is unmistakable, and Ukraine believes it can push these numbers even higher. The backbone of this strategy is Ukraine's drone-dominated kill zones. Russian assaults no longer face a single defensive line. Instead, they move through layers of detection, tracking, and destruction. First-person view drones hover constantly above the battlefield, spotting movements, marking targets, and striking with lethal precision. Artillery and mortars follow, sealing off escape routes and turning retreats into massacres. For Russian troops, the front line has become a place where visibility means death and movement invites immediate punishment. What makes this strategy particularly dangerous for Russia is that it targets the one advantage Moscow has relied on since the invasion began: manpower. Vladimir Putin's approach to the war has consistently treated soldiers as expendable resources. Losses are absorbed, units are replenished, and assaults continue. But Ukraine's leadership believes that even this grim calculus has limits. Fedorov's plan is designed to push Russian losses beyond what recruitment, mobilization, and political control can sustain. The logic is simple but ruthless. If Russia continues losing tens of thousands of soldiers every month, the reality of the war becomes impossible to hide from the Russian public, regional authorities, and even the military itself. Recruitment pipelines begin to fail. Units become under strength. Morale collapses. Commanders grow desperate. At that point, Ukraine believes Putin will face a choice he has so far avoided: escalate uncontrollably or negotiate seriously. This approach is what Ukrainian officials describe as peace by force. It is not about symbolic victories or dramatic breakthroughs. It is about making the cost of continuing the war exceed any conceivable benefit for Moscow. Ukraine does not need to destroy Russia outright. It only needs to make the war unsustainable. Critics argue that 50,000 deaths per month is an unrealistic target, but Ukraine's recent trajectory suggests otherwise. The monthly increase in Russian losses has followed a consistent upward pattern. If that trend continues, Ukraine could reach the 50,000 mark within months. Importantly, Ukrainian officials stress that current figures are conservative. Many Russian losses occur beyond the reach of immediate verification, meaning actual numbers may already be higher than publicly reported. Ukraine's confidence is reinforced by its rapidly expanding drone ecosystem. By the end of 2025, Ukraine is expected to have produced or acquired nearly 3 million drones, the vast majority domestically manufactured. This translates into hundreds of thousands of drones available each month, ensuring that losses can be replaced and kill zones maintained indefinitely. As long as trained operators are available, Ukraine can sustain a tempo of drone warfare that Russian forces have shown little ability to counter. The strategic implications are profound. If Russian units continue to be destroyed faster than they can be replaced, pressure on key contested cities will ease. Frontline towns that are currently under constant assault could see fighting slow or collapse entirely. Gaps in Russian lines would emerge, opening opportunities for Ukrainian counterattacks and territorial recovery. Even without major offensives, Ukraine could reshape the battlefield simply by denying Russia the manpower needed to advance. More importantly, the psychological impact on Russian forces could be decisive. Soldiers entering combat zones already saturated with drones know they are being watched at all times. They know that survival depends less on skill and more on luck. Over time, this erodes discipline, cohesion, and willingness to fight. Desertion, surrender, and refusal of orders become more common, further accelerating the breakdown of combat effectiveness. Fedorov has been careful to emphasize that this strategy is not driven by recklessness, but by efficiency. His stated philosophy is more technology, fewer casualties, meaning Ukrainian losses are minimized while Russian losses are maximized. Drones reduce the need for costly frontal engagements. Precision replaces mass. Data replaces guesswork. In this model of warfare, victory is achieved not through dramatic offensives, but through sustained pressure that the enemy cannot escape. Ultimately, this strategy represents a shift in how Ukraine views the path to ending the war. Rather than chasing decisive battles or rapid breakthroughs, Ukraine is embracing a long-term approach designed to exhaust Russia's capacity to fight. If successful, it would mark one of the clearest examples in modern history of a smaller force defeating a larger one through technological superiority, organizational discipline, and relentless attrition. As Ukraine moves deeper into 2026, the question is no longer whether Russian assaults will continue. They almost certainly will. The real question is whether Russia can endure the consequences of those assaults for much longer. If Ukraine succeeds in turning 50,000 Russian soldiers per month into casualties of a drone-dominated battlefield, then the outcome of the war may no longer be decided at the negotiating table, but by simple arithmetic that even Moscow cannot ignore. The skies over the Persian Gulf crackled with tension as radar systems in Qatar lit up, capturing a massive missile launch that would shake the largest U.S. airbase in the Middle East to its core. Al-Udeid Air Base, home to over 11,000 American personnel and a staggering array of aircraft, from F-15s and F-35s to B-52 bombers, tankers, and drones, suddenly became the focal point of one of the most audacious attacks in recent memory. For years, this hub has been central to U.S. operations in the region, a place where intelligence, logistics, and air power converge to form an unstoppable military machine. Yet, on this bright afternoon, under clear skies, its security was tested in a way that few could have imagined. Iranian radar installations across the Gulf recorded the departure of 38 ballistic and cruise missiles from 6 separate launch locations. The speed, coordination, and volume of the attack suggested a level of sophistication that immediately raised alarms in Washington, Doha, and across NATO intelligence channels. This was not a routine military exercise or a symbolic gesture. This was a direct strike aimed at crippling the operational heart of the U.S. presence in the Middle East. Military strategists would later point out that a strike of this scale, timed with such precision, required months of planning, meticulous reconnaissance, and absolute confidence in the technical reliability of the missiles involved. At Al-Udeid, the initial response was a combination of confusion and disciplined action. Radar operators, pilots, and command staff immediately went to full alert, initiating protocols designed for the worst-case scenario. Fighter jets roared into the air, defensive missile systems activated, and drones were deployed to intercept and track incoming threats. For the personnel on the ground, there was little time to process the scale of the attack. Every second counted, and every decision could mean the difference between devastation and survival. In that moment, the base became a hive of calculated chaos, each operator relying on training honed over years of preparation for precisely this type of scenario. Analysts reviewing the attack later noted the strategic intent behind the missiles' flight paths. They were designed to saturate the base's defensive measures, striking simultaneously from multiple angles to maximize the likelihood of a breakthrough. This was a textbook example of modern multivector warfare, where speed, coordination, and surprise can neutralize even the most robust static defenses. The missiles targeted runways, aircraft shelters, fuel storage, and communication nodes, critical infrastructure whose destruction could have temporarily grounded operations and crippled the base's ability to project power across the region. The precision of the strike, coupled with the quantity of missiles, suggested that Iran had invested heavily not only in hardware but in tactical planning. Yet despite the overwhelming threat, the defenders of al-Udeid responded with a level of preparedness that few outside the military could appreciate. Layers of missile defense systems engaged the incoming projectiles, from Patriot batteries to advanced electronic countermeasures designed to confuse targeting systems. Pilots scrambled to intercept, drones tracked trajectories, and command units coordinated evacuation and emergency protocols for personnel and assets alike. The integration of technology and human decision-making allowed the base to absorb the initial shock of the assault and mitigate what could have been catastrophic losses. The broader implications of the attack quickly became apparent. For the United States, this was more than an isolated incident. It was a clear statement of capability and intent. The strike demonstrated that Iran could, if it chose, project power against even the most heavily fortified and technologically sophisticated installations. For military planners, this required a reevaluation of strategy, defense deployment, and intelligence priorities across the Gulf. Every calculation had to consider the possibility that future attacks could be larger, faster, and more coordinated, leveraging a mix of drones, ballistic missiles, and electronic warfare. Intelligence reports later revealed the meticulous preparation that went into the operation. Surveillance and reconnaissance had been conducted over weeks, possibly months, to identify weaknesses in radar coverage, air defense gaps, and patterns in base activity. Logistics had been coordinated to launch missiles from multiple locations simultaneously, creating a synchronized assault capable of testing and overwhelming even the most redundant defense networks. This level of sophistication indicated not only military capability but also a strategic mindset intent on demonstrating dominance in a contested region. For the personnel at al-Udeid, the days following the attack were focused on damage assessment, repair, and readiness. While no single attack could permanently cripple the base, the message had been delivered. The vulnerabilities of even the most advanced military installations are not theoretical. Each launch, each trajectory, each intercepted missile was analyzed to improve defensive measures and inform future strategies. Commanders emphasized the importance of redundancy, rapid response, and continuous training, ensuring that personnel remained capable of operating under extreme pressure. The geopolitical consequences of this attack were immediate and significant. Allies and adversaries alike watched as the U.S. demonstrated its capacity to survive, respond, and continue operations despite a direct and unprecedented missile strike. The incident prompted urgent discussions within NATO and the United Nations about escalation, deterrence, and the balance of power in the Gulf. Diplomats and military analysts alike noted that the attack signaled a new phase in regional conflict, one where technological precision and massed missile capabilities could redefine how power was projected and challenged. The human element of the incident also cannot be overstated. Tens of thousands of personnel were placed under intense stress, required to make rapid, life-and-death decisions while coordinating across multiple command channels. Training exercises, simulations, and preparation were tested to their limits, revealing both strengths and vulnerabilities in personnel readiness. Reports from the ground highlighted not only the technological aspects of the defense, but also the courage, focus, and professionalism of those who executed emergency protocols under the weight of imminent threat. As the dust settled, military planners began modeling future scenarios, considering how drone integration, early warning systems, and missile defense saturation could be enhanced to prevent similar attacks. Lessons learned from this incident were incorporated into training programs, equipment upgrades, and strategic doctrine. Analysts emphasized that while al-Udeid survived, the event marked a turning point in understanding the evolving nature of modern warfare, where speed, coordination, and precision can dramatically shift the balance of power in regional conflicts. The attack also underscored a broader reality. Conflict in the modern era is no longer defined solely by territorial advances or conventional battles. Instead, technological superiority, information control, and rapid response capabilities are critical. The use of ballistic and cruise missiles, integrated with drone networks and intelligence support, represents a shift toward hybrid warfare where conventional defenses are tested continuously and the psychological and operational toll on personnel becomes a key factor. In conclusion, the missile strike on Al-Udeid Air Base was more than a military engagement. It was a demonstration of strategy, capability, and intent. It highlighted the evolving nature of warfare in the 21st century, where advanced technology, rapid decision-making, and coordinated attacks redefine what it means to defend, survive, and project power. For the United States and its allies, the incident was a stark reminder that even the most fortified installations are vulnerable and that adaptation, innovation, and vigilance are essential. For Iran, the strike showcased the potential of modern precision warfare to challenge even the most powerful adversaries. And for the world, it served as a chilling illustration of how quickly the balance of power can shift in an era defined by speed, technology, and relentless strategic calculation. The front line in Ukraine has become a relentless battlefield, where every inch of territory is contested and every engagement leaves a mark on both sides. From Sumy to Donetsk, Russian forces have attempted repeated assaults, only to be cut down by Ukraine's ever-evolving defense. Artillery strikes rain from fortified positions, mortars rip through enemy formations, and massive kill zones bristling with drones hunt and destroy anything that moves. It has become a deadly pattern for the Russian military, and Ukraine shows no signs of slowing. In fact, the stakes are about to escalate dramatically as the country unveils a new, brutal strategy designed not just to defend, but to bleed the Russian army at unprecedented levels. At the heart of this strategy is Ukraine's ambitious plan to eliminate up to 50,000 Russian soldiers per month. This isn't a theoretical goal. It is a coordinated operational target laid out by Ukraine's newly appointed defense minister, Mikhailo Fedorov. In his first public address, Fedorov detailed the twin pillars of his plan: better management of Ukraine's military forces and the unprecedented expansion of its drone operations. The first objective focuses on streamlining command, improving logistics, and ensuring that every decision is executed efficiently and precisely. The second, more eye-catching objective, is to maximize the lethality of Ukraine's drone army to inflict catastrophic losses on Russian troops, making the cost of war unsustainable for Moscow. Fedorov's plan is rooted in the staggering results Ukraine has already achieved. Over the last 3 months, Ukrainian drone operators eliminated 26,000 Russian soldiers in October, 30,000 in November, and 35,000 in December, according to confirmed video footage reviewed by the Ukrainian government. This steady rise in kills demonstrates both the effectiveness of the drone strategy and the increasing proficiency of the operators. Fedorov's goal is not merely incremental progress. It is a deliberate, systematic ramping up of attrition designed to overwhelm Russian recruitment efforts and force Putin into a position where the human cost of continued aggression becomes politically and operationally untenable. The operational backbone of this strategy lies in Ukraine's FPV first-person view, drones. These drones are not only tools of surveillance, they are instruments of precision strikes. Operated by skilled personnel, they can navigate hostile environments, identify enemy targets, and deliver explosive payloads with deadly accuracy. Each engagement is captured on video, providing both confirmation of success and intelligence for future missions. By the end of 2025, Ukraine's military had amassed nearly 3 million drones, a combination of domestic production and strategic acquisitions. This enormous fleet allows Ukraine to maintain relentless pressure on Russian forces, creating a situation where advancing troops face near-certain death when entering contested zones. The logic behind Fedorov's approach is clear. By systematically destroying Russian manpower at this scale, Ukraine can shift the balance of power without relying solely on territorial gains. Cities like Pokrovsk, Myrnohrad, and other strategic settlements become less vulnerable as Russian lines are thinned and supply chains disrupted. The attrition strategy also creates opportunities for counteroffensives, allowing Ukraine to reclaim ground that might otherwise be lost. Unlike past attempts, which sometimes overextended Ukrainian forces or gave Russia time to fortify, this approach relies on constant, precise, and coordinated pressure designed to exploit weaknesses as they appear. Beyond the battlefield, Fedorov's reforms are transforming the way the Ukrainian Defense Ministry operates. His mantra, "More technology, fewer casualties," reflects a commitment to leveraging innovation to maximize effectiveness while minimizing losses among Ukrainian troops. Systemic reforms within the ministry include digitization of records, integration of drone operations with artillery units, and the creation of centralized logistics and monitoring systems. These changes ensure that decisions are made swiftly, resources are allocated efficiently, and frontline troops receive the support they need to execute complex operations. The defense minister's background as a technology-focused entrepreneur has been pivotal in implementing these reforms. Prior to joining government, Fedorov revolutionized digital administration in Ukraine, modernizing record-keeping and streamlining bureaucratic processes across multiple sectors. This experience translates directly into military efficiency, allowing him to reorganize procurement, enhance technological integration, and develop systems like the Delta system and Brave One market, which reward drone operators for verified kills. This gamification of combat not only incentivizes precision but also ensures that Ukraine maintains a highly motivated and accountable drone corps capable of executing the ambitious 50,000 target goal. Equally significant is the focus on sustainability. Ukraine's drone strategy is supported by robust domestic production, ensuring that the military is not dependent on foreign supply chains in times of crisis. Hundreds of thousands of drones are produced each month, supplemented by stockpiles accumulated over previous years. This logistical foresight guarantees that drone operators have the necessary tools to maintain relentless pressure on Russian forces, while also enabling rapid adaptation to changing battlefield conditions. Russia's ability to respond is increasingly constrained. Recruitment efforts are faltering, with December 2025 seeing only 879 new enlistments, a sharp decline from previous years. Combined with staggering monthly losses on the battlefield, these shortfalls threaten the Kremlin's ability to rotate troops, reinforce positions, and sustain its offensive momentum. Fedorov's strategy exploits this vulnerability, turning attrition into a weapon that extends beyond the battlefield into Russia's political and military decision-making. Each death not only weakens Russian lines but also amplifies domestic pressure on Putin, creating a multiplier effect that favors Ukraine strategically. The timing of this approach is also critical. Ukraine has learned from past operations, avoiding overextension and ensuring that every offensive action is measured and precise. Smaller settlements are targeted first, gaps in Russian lines are exploited, and defensive positions are maintained to prevent counterattacks. This careful calibration contrasts sharply with earlier campaigns that sometimes saw Ukrainian forces spread too thin, losing momentum and resources. In 2026, Ukraine's actions will be rapid, deliberate, and devastatingly effective, combining technological superiority with tactical acumen. Ultimately, this is a war of innovation versus attrition. Ukraine leverages drones, digital systems, and centralized command to maximize efficiency and lethality, while Russia relies on outdated strategies and human wave tactics that incur unsustainable losses. The consequences are clear. If Ukraine maintains its pace, Russian recruitment cannot keep up, morale will deteriorate, and the Kremlin will face an unprecedented crisis of resources, manpower, and credibility. The scale of Fedorov's ambitions is matched only by the potential impact. A war where attrition, technology, and strategy converge to reshape the balance of power in Eastern Europe. As Ukraine moves forward, the combination of battlefield efficiency, organizational reform, and technological dominance positions the country to achieve what was once thought impossible. The 50,000 target goal per month is not just a number. It represents a systematic dismantling of Russian military capacity, the creation of operational opportunities, and a strategic signal that Ukraine is no longer content to simply defend. By controlling the tempo, leveraging superior technology, and executing precise strikes, Ukraine can dictate the terms of engagement and force Russia into an untenable position. In this new era of warfare, drones are not just tools. They are instruments of decisive strategic advantage. The stage is set for 2026 to be a year that could redefine the trajectory of the conflict. Ukraine's reforms, its relentless drone campaigns, and the strategic leadership of Fedorov collectively create a scenario where Russian forces are stretched to the breaking point. If executed as planned, Ukraine could achieve what was previously unimaginable, turning attrition into victory, transforming technological innovation into operational supremacy, and using precision and planning to inflict losses that Russia cannot sustain. This is not simply a plan. It is a vision of modern warfare, where strategy, technology, and human ingenuity combine to change the course of history.